I've been given something of a gift, something of a curse that I need to lay onto all of you. It is Dennis Prager's ideas on hentai. And I'm not even kidding you. This is a real thing that was sent to me. It's real. And I'm so confused that I live in a timeline where this exists. But here we go. But first, let's get into the fan art section. The first one we have here is from Tales of Atonement. Work in progress on this piece. Sorry about the awkward double raid earlier. I'm new to streaming and still learning the ropes. So, again, this is actually a character that I'm going to be voicing, Mirari, in the Tales of Atonement series. So they decided to do a shipping thing of Slime, Suris, and Mirari. The next one we have here is from Axo, just a whip of the goodest boy. Look at my baby boy! He's gonna destroy the world. He is the ultimate life form. The last one we have here is from Robotic Kitty, whip of a summer outfit idea. It ended up looking close to Nail's outfit from Xenoblade 3. It kind of happened because I was thinking about it. That is a cute outfit. I would definitely get an avatar with that outfit on at some point if I could afford more outfits from my artists. As always, everybody, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section. With that said, hit the like button if you haven't already, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's go ahead and get right into Dennis Prager clarifying a comment that masturbation to anime lolly stuff isn't evil. Let's take a look. Let's take a look.
UWO.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Would you use the word evil of animated child pornography? Because
No,
I certainly would.
No, I would use evil only with behavior. That's where we might differ, forgetting the sex issue. You can't be evil. You didn't do evil if you thought evil. You did evil
if I'm
you
masturbating
committed.
to animated pictures of pornography, I'm not doing something evil.
That's correct.
Yeah, I think that's despicable. Yeah.
Really?
Yes, of course.
Weird. Also, Anubian, of course. You redeem your points now for an...
Cheer 100, RIP cheer 100, RIP cheer 100, RIP cheer 100, RIP cheer 100, nope, stop talking, go to jail.
Alright, I'm going to start figuring out a way to stop the TTS from actually showing that kind of thing. I do not like the TTS just doing the fucking emotes. I hate that. I actually hate that. But okay, let's go ahead and get something clear then. So he's talking about lolly. He's talking about lolly hentai. That's what he's talking about. Okay. Now, if you want my in-depth opinion on that entire thing, I am of two minds. I am of the minds that, one, that entire community, that it is grody, is gross, and I don't want a lot of lolicons stopping into my community and being like, this is a happy place for me. No, it's really not. On the other hand, when I did my video covering this, yes, I've got that. Anubian, give me a fucking second. Give me a second. Because at the exact same time you did this, Axo did a drop, and Ivana did a drop that fried my brain because I had to hear R.I.P., 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 R.I.P. No. No. Yes, Anubian, you did drop your points for an... Oh, you did do that. You did earn that. At just an inopportune time, I guess. Jesus ball sacks. Axo, thank you for redeeming your points for an all-wall as well. Okay. Glub, thank you very much. Or Crow, thank you very much for the resubscribing. And Ziggy Diggy, thank you for giving out a tier 1 sub there. We've got all that stuff out of the way. Now, I'm going to focus on this real quick. If anybody wants this to be my time where I give my opinions on this, I already did that. I did an entire video on that where I... Let's see here. Suris. Let me find this for you. There we go. Now, if you want my opinions on this, I made an 1:10 long video going over all sides of the argument, going over my opinion on it, and especially going over, more than anything, the science behind what goes into this type of content being available for people, it being used as an outlet for people. I'm also of the opinion that bad things are things that harm people. I'm in a weird scenario where I actually kind of have to agree with Dennis Prager in the weirdest way, because I have to ask myself at any point. Lucky Otter says, science, yes, Lucky Otter. It turns out when there are phenomena in the human brain, we do studies on it to see why that happens. I looked into the comparisons between other ways that people freak out about non-issues. When people freak out about, say, like the QAnon conspiracy nuts, where they freaked out about Pizzagate when it was a non-issue. Turns out when people freak out a shit ton about the lolly thing, they're doing the same thing as the QAnon people. They really are. When you're looking at any action, I want you to take a second. I want you to take a moment and ask yourself, truly and honestly, is a person being harmed? And if the answer is no, then you are left with, this action disgusts you, this action repulses you, and the types of people who engage in this kind of content are probably going to be considered repugnant to you. Those are fine. It's okay to not like things. It's okay to be disgusted by certain things. But you have to ask yourself what kind of damage is actually being done. And for everybody that tries to do the whole, oh, well, it normalizes this thing. No, every study we've done on violence in video games has come to enter the chat and has an opinion on this particular thing. It's the exact same thing. Doing extreme violence in a video game does not cause adverse effects on the human brain the way that conservatives have been telling us that it will happen for the last 30, 40 years. Again, it's okay to say it's disgusting. It's even okay to point out that that community is disgusting, that lolicons as a grouping of people are problematic. Those are okay things to say. Those are okay things to think. What's not okay is to try to argue from the position that harm is actively being caused, because it's really not. And again, if you want the specifics on this, then just go watch my other video. If you want to complain at me about this, go watch my other video where I did this. I made that video so that I could have a signpost to point to anytime somebody wanted to bring up this entire debacle. But let's get back to the actual thing here. Dennis Prager set off a firestorm amongst his own right-wing evangelical supporters with his recent comments that he didn't believe that masturbating to lolly stuff was evil. The controversial founder of Pregger U, who recently celebrated the fact that Florida under Ron DeSantis became the first state to allow his videos to be played in public elementary schools, has said a number of creepy things over the years on the topic of sex. Yeah, I agree with that. Over the past week, was it like 5 years ago? He made an article on like the problems with consent or some shit. For me, it was just that I was assaulted when I was 5, and oh my god, there's a lot of text there. Hold on. For me, it was that I was assaulted when I was 5, and the idea of them being attracted to people who were like me when that happened bothers me a lot. Well, that's the thing, though. From what we have found, though, people who look at that type of material are not necessarily attracted to children. Again, it's the divide between wanting to shoot somebody in the head in real life and wanting to shoot somebody in the head in a video game. There are people who are into lolly who are attracted to kids, and those people need to be looked at. Those people need to be watched. We need to be able to make sure that those people do not harm children. But not everybody who consumes that material does, is the thing. There's a difference between somebody who watches lolly stuff and somebody who is a pedophile, because somebody who is a pedophile is somebody who is attracted to real children. And no, I'm not going to use the stupid fucking... But no, they're minor attracted people. No, we're not doing that. You're going to use the term. We're going to use the term. Alex Manna says, you just have one guy who wants the entirety of porn masturbation to be labeled as evil without the concept of consent within sex work and within relationships. And then you have Dennis, who wants to defend some forms of sex work within specific frameworks. The problem is Dennis has no concept of consent, which is the lodestone of any reasonable discussion of sex work. No, and I agree with that, Alex. I agree with that one. I agree with that. That's why I pointed out Dennis had a whole article he wrote years ago about the problems with consent, and it just made him seem like a person who, if he didn't have loads of money, would be thrown under the bus in every discussion ever by any reasonable person. And yet, because he's got loads of money, that's not what happens. Conservative Jews confuse me like conservative trans and minority people they want to oppress. Lions eating faces problem. Lions eating faces problem. It's the idea that if they are the good one, then they will not be the ones that are taken down by the establishment they're propping up, and yet they usually end up being the next people on the shopping block. Over the past week, he has seen many of his previous supporters abandon him over an interview where he rather unartfully tried to explain his position that thoughts can't be evil, only deeds. I disagree with that one. There can be evil thoughts. But what is truly evil is what we do. So good old Dennis, the first through third divorces weren't my fault, Prager. Naturally, to clarify his comments, he chose to go on an equally creepy Charlie Kirk show. He now claims that he was only trying to say that masturbating to real children was evil. I can agree with that. But with anime children, it is not. I can agree that it's gross. But I can go further. Let's see here.
And there are...
But on this particular example, I would differ, Dennis, on if somebody was self-pleasuring to...
No, Charity, I'm not going to have that conversation with Xander Hall. Zan is aware of my position. I'm aware of his. But because Zan covers drama stuff, the last thing I want is for us to get into a conversation about this and then it turn into a drama debacle. It's not a thing that I have any interest in doing. Because I would want to go in as a discussion, and I have no reason to even televise that kind of discussion. I just don't. I view Zan as an ally. I have no reason to do something that causes me to change that opinion.
To even the form or the animation of a minor.
I agree. Okay, yes. I'm very, very close to you on that.
I would use evil. I would have to say evil, Dennis.
That's fair. Okay, and I'm not going to argue with you.
Okay.
My only point was that it is not the same as with real children. That part. The sad part of all this is that there are people on the right, and there are some Christians, not the biggest Christians by any means. The biggest Christians have been allies, but there are Christians and there are conservatives who have acted in this case just like the left does with me. What they're doing is they're playing gotcha. You can have a lifetime of good work.
It said, can Dennis just not afford a decent audio guy? Yeah, he sounds overblown for, like, no reason here.
But you said a sentence, or in one case, a word, wrenched out of context.
Okay, so the context is very simple, though. Like, I don't agree with people always do this whole, aha, you pulled it out of context. Like, no, just stand with what you are saying. You said that you do not think that somebody doing stuff when it comes to lolly hentai is evil. Okay, cool. Just stand by that. That's an easily defensible position. Just go, hey, did it cause harm to somebody? If no, then there you go. Did the production of the material require harm to happen to somebody? If no, then the only people who can get up in arms about it are doing the same type of pearl clutching that everybody else does when it comes to LGBTQ people. If we're going to have the position, and I'm going to stand by this one, if we're going to have the position that certain things are okay because they don't actually harm people, then we need to be consistent in that position. The minute that we start going, oh, but this one is bad because I'm personally repulsed by it, then we're really doing no better than the conservatives here. Just like Goro. I'm repulsed by Goro. I think that Goro hentai is just it's fucking disturbing material. It is disturbing as shit material, and the fact that there's people who get off to that material concerns me. But am I going to argue that it's evil to be attracted to that? No. Am I going to argue that type of material should be banned and people shouldn't be able to look at it? No, I'm not going to do that. I find it gross as fuck for the same reason that I find things like scat incredibly gross as fuck. It's not my thing, and I shudder to think what it would feel like for that to be my thing. But I'm not going to argue that that is an evil thing that needs to be taken away. Gainer says, so glad I don't know what those are. All right, then let me go ahead and taint you. Goro is literally, it's hentai where limbs have been ripped off, eyes have been gouged out, various forms of dismemberment have been done on the people involved, but they are still alive and having sex. Yeah, Goro, not Goro. It's gore porn. It's gore porn. And then scat is just 2 girls, 1 cup. It's 2 girls, 1 pup. Like, those are things that personally repulse me to no end. But I'm not going to argue that, oh no, they're evil because they disgust me. Because I want to be ideologically consistent. And I'm going to hold that same thing when it comes to lolly stuff. Do I think it's wrong? No. Do I think it's gross? Sure. So the thing I like about Suris and Vasha is that they both understand philosophy. Said, the root of Goro into Japanese is the English word grotesque. So, instead of doing this cowardly backpedaling that Dennis seems to be doing, oh no, you took me out of context. No, just stand by the words you're saying, my guy. Just do it. Like, you say heinous shit all the time. You should be able to handle saying this. He then went to say that Christian conservatives who are criticizing him over the comment are acting just like the left does with me. They're playing gotcha. You could have a lifetime of good work, but you said a sentence wrenched out of context and get pursued. I do agree with that one, though. I have seen people turn on any side of political debate. I've seen people turn because of a single turn of phrase. I actually got a lot of people pissed at me at one point because I said that you should be able to philosophically support the phrase the Holocaust was a bad thing. I don't think that that's an unreasonable position. I believe when you say something is bad, you should be able to support it. If you're going to say it like out in an online forum. Holocaust was bad. We all know it. Why? Because human life has value and the Holocaust was a major extinction of human life. It's bad because racism is bad and bigotry against religions is bad. And it was taking all of those things, blending them up into a smoothie, and then projectiling it over everything. If you can't support why something as baseline as that is bad, then you don't need to be involving yourself in online discourse at all. Because that's like the simplest thing to defend. Holocaust was bad. Give me a 3-sentence thesis on it. It's super easy. So Jessa says, how is that a debate? Because there are people who will see when you say that, and they will take it as you arguing that the Holocaust was not actually bad, and you're putting the onus on other people to prove it's bad. Regardless of a lifetime of saying it was bad, regardless of a lifetime of asking people to philosophically back up their positions, regardless of how consistent you are within the framework of everything you've ever said, it is interesting to watch Dennis Prager finally eat that same shoe that various other content creators have had to eat for years. Dipper says you can't... Wait, hold on. Is there a misunderstanding about the furries in here now, too? The furry fandom isn't all about sex. Even mostly about sex. It's just people wearing anthropomorphic suits. That's it. What? Who in the balls has that misconception? You're confusing furries with zoos. Which is stupid. So sorry, Pregger, if your ethics system is contradictory, people are gonna gotcha you. Yep. Instead of conflating, so there are two things in society you gotta be careful about because folks get jumpy about them. Pedos and the N-word. Yep. Yep. People are weird. Anyway, as I said, no, they're comparing the two and saying that all furries are zoos, like how not all... Oh, God. There's a couple steps of difference, though. So with Lolicon, there's stages. There's people that just enjoy those types of characters because they consider them very comforting characters. And then there's the set of people that enjoy watching them go through terrible hardships. I mean, imagine people who are hyper fans of Madoka Magica there. Then you've got the people who are sexually attracted to characters that have those body types that may involve them being, 1,000-year-old dragon type stereotypes, or may involve them being actual written as children characters. And then you've got people who actually are attracted to children. And each of these categories is very different from the other ones. Each of these categories is radically different than the last. But again, if anybody wants these specifics, I can go into those specifics. And by I can go into those specifics, I mean I did go into those specifics when I actually went through all of this. Some more reading, not compiled by me, on the proclivity of people who advocate strongly against a thing to do the exact thing they're advocating strongly against. I also ended up putting sources here for people who needed it. So, if you want to read the things, then that is there. Hell, I'll go ahead and put that link right here in the chat. I said I'd do that, and then I blew it up. There you go. There is a link to that video in the chat. You can literally just look up the video if you're on YouTube. Go have fun. Go have fun. Anyway, this is where I ask you guys for your opinions, knowing that in a conversation like this, I will probably not be responding to most of the comments on it, because there are people who are going to get mad and angry and any number of things. And that's okay. You can get angry. It's fine. I've already done the research on this. I already know I'm correct. You can scream and flail. That's okay. Anyway, as always, everybody, hit the like button if you haven't already, subscribe if you haven't already, and insert end video tagline here.